Josstice League is better than the Snyder Cut. DC has better characters than Marvel. Gal Gadot is ugly. I asked for your DC hot takes and controversial opinions, and you shared over 500 flaming hot takes. So today I am going to react to your hottest takes. Let's fight.
Let them fight.
Next up, from the Disney Nerd friend of the channel, one of my supporters over on Patreon, DC has better characters than Marvel.
I agree with that.
I don't think this is a remotely hot take or controversial. I just completely agree with this, and I've said it many times before. I'm not Team DC. I'm not Team Marvel. I love both of them. I love different movies, TV shows, comic runs from both of these catalogs. But if you're just trying to say which group do I think has more characters that I love, better rogues galleries, I'm easily going with DC over Marvel. Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the reasons it's so fantastic is that some of these storytellers were able to take C-level characters and make them A-listers. Like Iron Man, people that read comics knew who he was, but he was not this A-lister. And then with the perfect casting and the right screenwriters, right directors, they were able to take a B-level Marvel character and make him this fantastic movie character. Or the Guardians of the Galaxy. These are like C-tier Marvel characters prior to James Gunn making them the most beloved family of the MCU. But as for raw characters, source material, I mean, I just look at how many fantastic heroes there are in DC that could easily just kind of have great runs in the comics, great TV shows, great movies, and then their rogues galleries. I mean, just how many fantastic villains Batman has, Superman has. There's just such a wide variety of great heroes and villains. So I think the set of characters of DC is stronger than that of Marvel. There are great characters in Marvel. There are great villains in Marvel. And you can look at my content. Obviously, I love Marvel. And there's amazing versions of them where they take less than great source material and just elevate it well beyond its popularity in comics itself. But I just think there's just too many top tier heroes and villains in DC. So I easily think that DC has the better characters, the better raw material. CM Waters, another friend of the channel. He has a YouTube channel that you can check out. I'll put a card right up here. We'll try to remember to put a card right up there. Wonder Woman 1984 is amazing even to this day. The most common complaint is that it's too silly compared to the first film, but the film sets the tone basically from the opening scene. Its cheese factor fits perfectly into the era of the 1980s, and the gleefulness is infectious and makes it a ton of fun. I'm glad that the movie has aged well for you. I wish I could say I have the same experience with it. To be fair, I haven't rewatched it since, I think, 2020. I believe I watched it 2 times in the theater when it came out. I don't think I've watched it at home yet, so I'm not sure how it will sit with me, but it's the kind of movie that being able to go to a movie theater in December of 2020, it was like, wow, movie theaters, they might just make it. I'm seeing another comic book movie. Wow, there's hope for the future. So I really enjoyed that. It was cool to see a movie in the theater in 2020, but it's the kind of film that as I sat with it and thought about like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on in that movie? There was like the monkey's paw, Grant's wishes. What exactly is Pedro Pascal trying to do? Wait a minute, what is the end of this movie where they're like making a broadcast to everyone in the planet? She's using her lasso of truth to communicate with them and everyone on the planet has to... What? This doesn't make sense.
This is a mess. None of these storylines make any sense.
And then when you stop and think about the way they brought Steve Trevor back and you're like, no, this doesn't add up. And then if you really think about, wait a minute, they're taking over a guy's body... that's not good. That has some implications to it. So maybe when I rewatch it, it'll work better, but it's the kind of film that I could enjoy certain beats, moments. I could have some fun with some sequences.
But it can be better.
But when I thought about the plot, I was like, yikes, what a weird thing to do. What a bizarre place to take things. Yeah, I don't think I'm on board with this one. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, but man, I have got a lot of issues with the plot and the script for that movie. Turkey 1, my dad's hot take. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman has cellulite, is ugly, and poorly acted. Linda Carter was the true Wonder Woman. They should get someone who isn't a random person off of the street.
This is the worst.
Some takes are so flaming hot you don't even know where to begin. I'm old enough now that I'm starting to get a little bit set in my ways, so I can understand a little bit of that. Hey, oh, this person is this. I can get some of that. But when you say Gal Gadot has cellulite and is ugly.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
It sounds to me like your dad needs to get new glasses. It sounds to me like there's something's just not right there with like your dad, because that is not an ugly woman, and that is not cellulite is not the word that I would use to describe her body and physique. She's still gorgeous. What are you talking about? Now, in terms of her acting, she's more beautiful as a woman than she is talented as a thespian, but that's also largely to say that she's very pretty. I think she works, especially in the first Wonder Woman, is quite good in the part. She's not a world-class thespian. A lot of us were concerned when she was first cast, but I think she won us over with that first movie. The idea that she can't act at all, I would disagree with that, though it would be fair to say that has a stronger screen presence than pure acting talent. But your dad is concerning me by saying that she is ugly.
Don't be crazy.
Real quick, there's a companion video to this over on my Patreon page with my reactions to even more of your DC hot takes. Join at any level and you gain access to that video as well as hundreds of others, as well as hundreds of live streams that I do. Join at $2 per month or about $21 per year. You gain access to all of those videos. At $5 per month, you can have your name on my end card. And then at the top tier, you get actually a one-on-one video chat with me every single month. So that's pretty cool. We can talk about movies, YouTube, whatever you want to talk about. We can do that if you join at that top tier. Link is down below in the description if you want to learn more about it. I love Batman Forever. It's one of the only times we get a deep look at the man under the mask and what makes him who he is. In most Batman movies, Bruce Wayne is barely a presence. There was a lot of love for Batman Forever in the comment section. There was a bunch of people saying something along these lines, and there's a good bit of truth to that. A bunch of Batman movies can be very Batman-centric, especially Batman 89, The Batman. They're so focused on Batman that you don't feel like you're connecting with the character. It's always kind of at arm's length. You're seeing the person of action. You're seeing the hero, not diving into the psyche of what's going on. And Batman Forever has even a main plot line about Bruce Wayne meeting with Chase Meridian, getting under the cape, diving into all of that. I'll say I can understand what you're saying here, but I think that exact thing is why some of it doesn't fully work for me, because you have this much more grounded take on Bruce Wayne that's trying to get to know him as a person, while all these zany and wacky things are happening with Jim Carrey as the Riddler and this technology that you put on your head and you can see people's minds and stuff like that. And even the way it kind of like montages from a piece of tech is invented to he's immediately famous. It's like there's this massive jump in time that the movie doesn't really account for. And I don't know if that's because they cut a bunch of Joel Schumacher's stuff and maybe that's in the mysterious Joel Schumacher cut that's out there. But I think there's some things in the storytelling that's a little bit clunky and like we're montaging through the plot rather than playing it out. I do agree with you that the movie should get more credit. Some people just lump it in with Batman and Robin, so they don't give it any credit. There are a lot of good things in that movie. And you get to see Bruce Wayne, you get to bring in Dick Grayson and that idea of him trying to care about someone else that's in the position he's in. There are a lot of really good personal things in there. I don't know that it drives with the overall tone of the film. Real quick before I react to your final hot takes, I've done a bunch of other hot take reaction videos. In particular, last month I did a video called Hot Takes and Hot Wings. One of the coolest videos I've ever done. It was me and my buddy Andy talking about Star Wars hot takes while eating very hot wings. But I've also done other videos in this exact format on Spider-Man as well as the MCU. You can check those out right up here when this video's over. Final hot take of the day. I saved one of the best for last. The original Justice League film was better than the Snyder Cut.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I think Star-Lord put it best.
It's worse. It's so much worse.
There actually were several different comments with this general sentiment that certain people preferred Josstice League to Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, if just in general you don't buy into this rendition of the Justice League, therefore you don't care for it, therefore 2 hours of a bad thing is better than 4 hours of a bad thing, fair enough, I get what you're saying. If just the length, 4 hours, is just too much for you, perhaps I can understand what you're saying, but whoo, we are on two very different pages on this film, because on so many different just objective technical levels, Josstice League is a Frankenstein monster of a film. When Joss Whedon stepped in, when it comes to his storytelling sentiments, the way he does character arcs, his sense of humor, even the film that he shoots on, he is not compatible with Zack Snyder. He's not a logical continuation to like finish or continue what Snyder was doing. He is different, therefore you're inherently changing it. So when you have a movie that's already so much of it is written and shot, and you bring someone in that does everything differently, you have a movie competing with itself, fighting with itself. So it's just, you feel that. Joss Whedon didn't even shoot on the same film as Zack Snyder. So the shots literally look different. You can see exactly when they go from one to the other. Ben Affleck is a different size, shape, and color in the reshoots. Like he'd gained weight and had been out in the sun or something like that. So his complexion is just different in the reshoots versus the other shots. This is all documented through the trailers, through the releases. They color corrected to death Josstice League, so it just looks weird. But when you tell a story that's intended, if they'd put Zack Snyder's film in the theater, it wouldn't have been 4 hours long. It probably would have been 2.5 to 3 hours long. They would have dramatically tightened it. You wouldn't have added all that post-apocalyptic stuff at the end. It would have been much shorter. But when you write a 2 hour and 45 minute, 3 hour movie, and you try and tell that same amount of story in 2 hours, which was mandated, inherently, instead of allowing your story to flow out properly the way it's supposed to, you start having to find shortcuts to get as quickly as possible from point A to point B. So all of a sudden, characters have to just say what needs to happen rather than showing it. And you do reshoots to just like, all right, we're going to cut the subplot. We need a reshoot scene to bridge these two sections together. You start taking individual scenes and removing all of the interesting conflict that develops things and just going from point A to point C. And that's what this movie does a lot of. It removes all the development and just goes from point A to point C. It skips over the middle part. We introduce an idea and then we go to the conclusion. So there's no depth. You don't feel anything. Nothing feels earned. Everything feels shortcutted because that's exactly what it is. It's the shortcutted version where they cut everything out that actually developed the characters, developed the plot, earned the payoff. And then there's just the goofy, stupid stuff in there of like Flash pushing a car is not an improvement over the Flash stopping time and turning back time exploding. It's just not. And there's just things like that undermined Josstice League. But it was always a Frankenstein's monster of incompatible visions, too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many cooks. Just pulling in so many different directions, making this monstrosity. Whereas If you think that Zack Snyder's Justice League is too long, that's fair. It's 4 hours long. It's long. It just is. And that's going to be way too long for a lot of people. That's fair. But because it's that, it actually tells its story properly, sets things up, develops them. There's conflicts all along the way to raise the stakes, raise the tension, increase the conflict. So when you have victory, when you have revelations, they feel earned and satisfying. Justice League is this monster job of skipping from point A to point B just to move as quickly as possible because they had a mandated runtime of 2 hours. So on an objective level, I cannot in any way see how Justice League is better. We all have our different tastes. Just on my tastes, you are so wildly wrong on this one. But then again, if it's just not your thing, I get that too. But no. Snyder Cut is better. If you want to see more of my reactions to your flaming hot takes, consider joining over on Patreon to see that companion video. Also remember, I've talked about Star Wars in my hot takes and hot wings video, as well as the MCU and Star Wars. You can check those out over in that playlist right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.